Welcome to Top 10 USA, home of the Rocket Platform. Please follow our installation procedures and be sure to use appropriate ESD standards and techniques throughout the installation process. If these procedures are not followed appropriately, damage to your SAN may occur. If your machine is covered under the Rocket Plus subscription and you have any questions or concerns, please open a ticket through the Rocket Platform customer portal. Thank you for purchasing your pre-configured Dell EqualLogic SAN from the Rocket Platform. This instructional is to assist you with the setting up of your new array. With the purchase of your pre-configured system, you are also provided with the rack mount kit designed for your system. Take the kit and insert it into the desired rack position. Once the rails have been secured, locate the chassis. The chassis will have all the rear components installed into the chassis. Insert the chassis into the rack where you have just installed the rails. Once the chassis is in place, use the screws provided to secure the chassis to the rack. Once the chassis is secured to the rack, you will need to insert the drives. The drives were left out of the chassis to prevent any damage to the drives due to their fragile nature. To insert a drive into its slot, depress on the tab of the drive and open the arm on the tray all the way. Insert the drive into the slot, ensuring the drive connector is facing towards the center of the chassis and the tab of the drive is situated on the top hand side. When the drive is inserted around 90% of the way, the arm will begin to catch in its slot. Once the arm catches, push inwards on the arm, forcing the drive to seat the rest of the way. Repeat this process until all drives have been inserted into the chassis. Once all the drives have been inserted, head to the rear of the array. From the rear of the chassis, we can see the control modules, power supplies, and fan modules. Prior to cabling the array, it is recommended that you reseat the components in the rear to ensure a good connection between the components and the chassis. Start with the fan modules. To reseat the fan module, first unscrew the two thumb screws that are securing the fan module to the chassis. Once the screws have become completely unseated, grab the metal bar on the fan module and pull it straight back out of the slot. Pull it about halfway out before pushing it back into its slot. Once pushed in all the way, screw the thumb screws back in to secure it to the chassis. Repeat this process on the alternate fan module. Now reseat the control modules. To reseat the control module, take a Phillips head screwdriver and unscrew the two screws on each side of the control module. Once the screws are unseated, take the metal plate and push it to the right-hand side. Once the plate is all the way to the right, grab the two metal levers on the control module and pull them towards you. Once extended fully outwards, you should be free to move the controller out of the slot. Pull the controller halfway out of the slot before pushing it back in. When inserted around 90% of the way, the levers on the controller will begin to catch. Once the levers begin to catch in their slot, push the levers inwards to seat the controller the rest of the way. Once the controller is completely seated, push the metal plate to the left-hand side. Once the plate is in the left-hand position, take a Phillips head screwdriver and screw the screws back onto the chassis. Repeat this process with the alternate control module. After reseating the controllers, you will now need to reseat the supplies. Take a Phillips head screwdriver and unscrew the two screws securing the supplies to the chassis. Grab the middle bar attached to the power supply and pull straight back out of the slot. Pull the power supply around halfway out of the slot before pushing it back in. Once pushed in all the way, take a Phillips head screwdriver and screw the screws on the power supply. Repeat this process on the alternate power supply. Now that you have reseated all the rear components, insert the network cables into the control modules, according to how you have set up your network. Once the network cables are installed, ensure the switches on the power supply are in the off position. If either the switches is in the on position, switch it to the off position. This will prevent any improper voltage from being delivered to the chassis during the insertion of the power cables. Once you have confirmed the power supplies are in the off position, insert the power cables. Once the power cables have been inserted, turn the switches on the power supplies to the on position. You must now wait for your array to complete the boot process. When the boot process has completed, the controllers in the array will be in the active and secondary states. When the controllers are in the active and secondary states, they will display certain indicator lights. The controllers have three indicator lights attached: the PWR, ERR, and ACT. The PWR light indicates whether or not the control module is receiving power. The ERR light indicates whether there is an issue during the boot process on the control module. The ACT light indicates the activity status of the control module. When the controller is in the active state, the indicator lights on the controller will have the PWR light lit up green and the ACT light lit up green as well. When the controller is in the secondary state, The indicator lights on the controller will have the PWR light lit up as green and the ACT light lit up as amber. When the array has finished its boot process, take the serial cable provided and plug it into the serial port on the active control module. On your computer that has the other end of the serial cable plugged in, open up PuTTY or a similar SSH serial client. Select the serial option and set the baud rate to 9600. Open up the connection, then hit Enter. After hitting Enter, you will see a login prompt. The default username for the array is grpadmin with a default password of grpadmin. Once logged in, you will be prompted to configure the network settings of the array. Type Y, then hit Enter. You will be asked if you wish to continue. Type Yes, then hit Enter to begin configuring the network settings. Your first selection will be to set the member name. This name will be set as a unique name for the particular array. After inputting the member name, you will be prompted to select the first port on the member to activate. Depending on the control module, the options will range from ETH0 to ETH3. If you simply hit Enter, the script will automatically select ETH0. After selecting the port, you must then set the IP address. This IP address will be used to be set as the specific IP address for the port you just selected. Once you have set the IP address, you will need to set the network mask. This mask determines which network range the IP address will be set upon. Once the net mask has been set, you will need to set the default gateway. Once this information has been established, the array will activate the port according to the settings you just input. Once the port has become active, the array will need to be assigned to a group. If you already have an EqualLogic group and wish for this member to join that group, input the name of the group, followed by the group IP address. Once the connection to the group you wish to join has been established, you will be prompted to enter the member management password. This password is specific to allowing addition of new members to the group. Once input, the members will join the group. If you do not have a group to join the member to, or simply wish to create a new group, input the desired name of the group, followed by the desired group IP address. The group IP address is a virtual IP address that is used to cluster members into a group, and does not have a designated port to reside on. After inputting the data, the array will attempt to search for the group using the parameters you had just set. Once the array has failed to find the group, you will be asked if you wish to create a new group. Type Yes, then hit Enter to continue. Next, you will be prompted to use the information you had entered previously. If you had entered the information correct the first time, simply type Yes, then hit Enter. If you had input any of the information incorrectly, type No, then hit Enter. Then you will restart the group configuration segment. After creating the new group, you will need to set the member management password. This password is specifically set to allow other arrays to configure to the group. You will need to enter the password identically twice congruently for the password to be accepted as a new password. After the member management password has been set, you will then set the new password for the default account. This will change the default password for the GRP admin account. As with the member management password, the password must be input identically twice congruently in order for the password change to be accepted. Once the GRP admin password has changed, the member will begin to come online with the new group. Wait approximately 10 minutes, then open your preferred browser. In the address bar of the browser, input the group IP. Once you see a login prompt, enter the credentials for the GRP admin. Now that you are logged into the group manager, you will need to set the specific RAID that you would like to apply to the member, and the storage pool for the member to belong to. First, expand on the members tree, and select the member you had just installed. Once selected, a window will appear asking if you would like to configure the RAID for the array. Select the option Yes to continue, and a new window will appear. From the first tab of the new window, you will be able to alter the name of the member and select a storage pool for the member to belong to. A storage pool is a set of arrays that span data related to the pool across the arrays. This feature allows you to have multiple arrays in a group for simple management while allowing you to determine what information is shared between which arrays. Arrays in the same group do not span data with other members if they are not within the same storage pool. The default storage pool would be automatically selected whenever configuring a RAID on a new member. Select the storage pool you wish this array to join. Note that the array can be moved from storage pool to storage pool as long as there is enough free space on the remaining members of the pool to relieve the data off of the member prior to moving the member to a new pool. After selecting the storage pool, you will click Next to continue. Select the RAID policy you wish to have configured for this array. After selecting the RAID policy, there will be an option for RAID accessibility. You can choose to have the data accessible immediately, or tell the array to wait until the RAID is verified before allowing access to the storage. Select the option based upon personal preference, then select Next to continue. In this final tab, you will be shown a summary of the configuration you just set. Select Finish to finalize the options and initialize the RAID. Now that the RAID is initialized, you will now need to configure the rest of the ports on the new member. Navigate to the Network tab. In this tab, you will see the network configuration for this particular array. The port you had configured during the initial configuration will show up with the specific settings assigned during the initial configuration, while the other ports will be grayed out with no information for either the IP or net mask. Double-click on one of the grayed out ports and a window will appear. Input the desired IP address and net mask, then select the option Enable Interface. Select OK to enact the changes on the port. The port will now activate with these settings applied. Repeat this process until you have activated all ports on the array. If you chose to wait for the verification of the RAID before allowing accessibility, you must now wait for your RAID to verify before using the array. If you chose to allow accessibility immediately, you may now begin using the array. If any issues arise during the installation process or you have any questions or concerns, please contact us directly. Thank you for choosing the Rocket Platform, the evolution of hardware maintenance.
Thanks for watching. This has been another video by the Top 10 USA Video Production Team. We look forward to sharing more content with you going forward, so please check out our YouTube channel and please subscribe so that you get notified whenever we release a new piece of content.